Colorado, and I've been a childcare provider for about 3.5 years now. I eventually found a job as a salesperson, and I was making good money, and that kind of left school to work and pay my bills and help my mom. But then throughout the years, I've always wanted to work with children, so I actually found out through a friend that she had opened her daycare, and that kind of interested me. And then I was just asking her more questions. How did you do it? What does it take to open a daycare? So eventually I was like, I think I want to have a daycare. So I left my job and I started with doing research, and I opened my daycare.
I'm in the field of education, and I was really, really curious about the disparities that I would see amongst incoming kindergartners in terms of the knowledge base. And year after year, I saw the same thing. I'd see maybe 5 or 6 students who were so empowered and they could identify ABCs out of sequence. They knew their phone numbers, their colors, all the basic things that you're looking for. But then the remainder of the class oftentimes was at a disadvantage with that information. They had no knowledge of those things. They could sing the ABCs, but if you asked them to identify letters out of sequence, it was very, very challenging.
I taught elementary school in the Diocese of Oakland, ages K through 3. And what I realized at the time was that there were many children of color who weren't even testing into kindergarten. And I thought to myself, this is awful and this must change. And I felt that, I could make a difference, particularly here in my community, which at the time was predominantly African American. And so that's what made me ultimately decide to leave the diocese and open up my own childcare, because I knew that if children didn't have a good solid foundation, that they were really doomed before they began. I couldn't imagine children not being able to test in the kindergarten.
Point out the oranges? Where do you see the oranges? Right there, yeah.
I don't see it.
How about you, Theo? Where do you see the berries? Can you point out the berries? Right there, yes. How about you, Luciano? Can you point out the strawberries? Where are the strawberries? Right here. Sometimes if we were to get sick, then I wouldn't be able to leave my daycare and go get help for myself, because then I wouldn't have anybody that would be helping the kids and replacing me, unless you have an assistant. But it's also very hard to find an assistant if you don't have the proper resources.
Some of them don't have any medical coverage. If you don't have a spouse or some other way, or you're paying some maybe exorbitant amount into a fund, what do you do for medical coverage? So when you get sick and you can't work, you're contagious or you're injured in such a way that you can't work, you can't lift children, you can't bend, you can't sit, what do?
I can't do anything. I can't survive myself. I can barely pay my mortgage. I can barely pay my PG&E, water, gas, property taxes, and let alone my amazing assistants that work here and help me with the children every day. So funding is a huge part of this. And also, what about my future? What about the 40,000 child care providers here in this state that have not been fortunate enough to set aside money for retirement? Many of them are working till they're in their 70s, and I've even had cases where folks have been in their 80s. And that's unfair. We, after all, are educating the state of California, and when you talk about providers nationwide, we're educating the nation. However, we are the least. We are at the bottom of the totem pole, and that really is not fair. We enable families mothers to get their education, We allow families to thrive, but yet many of our families as providers are struggling. And it's really a system that has to be revamped.
Journey. And so I just want to congratulate all of you for your commitment and faith to and devotion to this cause and the cause of the kids, because it's at the end of the day, substantively it's about organizing and substantively about taking care of our caregivers, the folks that are doing the good work every single day. But at the end of the day, its purpose is about developing the minds of these little guys and making them flourish and thrive. And so that's a point of pride, and it is my privilege, and that's it, to sign this bill.
Well, the reason why this is so important, it will allow us to have a seat at the table. That means currently we have legislatures that are making decisions that don't even know about our field. So who best can tell about our field other than childcare providers? So by us having a seat at the table, we can set our own destiny. We can say, no, we need X amount of dollars because of this, that, and the other. No, we need better medical. No, we need an insurance, retirement. All of the benefits that other workforce are able to have, we will have that. And so that is a major step in the right direction for collective bargaining. That is why we're bargaining. One, we must raise the subsidized rate. I mean, like I said, we're at 2014 rate. This is 2019, about to be 2020. So we need to work on that. We need to make sure that providers have adequate medical benefits. Also that they get the necessary training, updated training that they need in order to continue to be the best that they can be in their field. And then last but not least, we must set a good retirement plan for these men and women that have worked so hard and so diligently in this field. They should not retire broke. They should not retire without the basic needs that they deserve.
For me, as a new care provider, I have, like I said, 3.5 years. For me, this is very important. Because I am thinking of doing this in the long run. So I'm thinking of doing this, hopefully for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. When I first started my daycare, I felt like I was alone because I didn't know many other daycare providers. But now I feel like I have more of a support group than I did before, and now I feel like I'm not alone.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of planning. That's a lot of love that goes into, what we're doing every day. And so on the other end of things, it would be nice for us to get a little bit of that love and compassion also that we've been giving.
Hi, Artie. At a time?